is Ammar. I'm from Egypt and I study computer science. How do I identify as race or ethnicity? I was born from an Arab father who is pure Arab, like Arab tribe, and an Egyptian mother who from a family that don't really keep track of its race. But my mother's family are more white, my father's family are brown, so I'm a mixed race, I believe. Yeah, so my mom is Egyptian, but my father is Arab. We are a tribe that historically came from Saudi Arabia, Palestine, Iraq, Yemen, all of these places. That's as far as I know about the history of my tribe. My grandfather used to tell me about this history. Arab tribes used to be very good at tracking their ancestry. They know their grandparents, etc. I think my grandfather would claim that he can recite the names of his ancestors until thousands of years ago. This tribe, or this group of the tribe, recently, the past couple hundred of years, moved to Egypt, alongside with a lot more tribes that moved to Egypt. Egypt is like an Arab country now, and many tribes that moved from these areas were a very big effect in that. How do I see myself in terms of ethnicity? I never been asked this question before coming to the States, and I have been avoiding answering this question for the longest time. When I have to fill any forms, I would say I would rather not say. It's because I didn't really want to try to identify myself. If you push me harder, I would say I identify myself as a human. Unfortunately, you cannot do that in official forms. So I say I'm multi-racial. And I love this answer because it helps me run away from the answer. There's no problem belonging to a certain race. The problem is that when you identify yourself, the consequence is you start putting yourself as part of a group that are different than other groups. I don't see that we are different regarding our races. I see we are all humans. I see we are all similar. I see us all one. So I don't think that being black or white, Hispanic, brown, or whatever race will make any difference in terms of how human you are. Can I tell you about my country? One of the reasons I'm here is that I wanted to leave my country. It's not that I don't love my country, I love it. I love it in terms of I want it to be a better country, but it's a country where education is suffering, health is suffering, and there are less acceptance, and some people suffer from racism back there. It's a long fight against racism and trying to make people accept each other. So if you are a black person living in Egypt, which is not a white country, you still would suffer because of your color. Recent history of Egypt, there was no any struggle between races or different religions. You can find a place in Egypt where there is a mosque, a church, and a synagogue next to each other, the three of them. Recently, racism starts being as a consequence or a side effect of having troubles with education or bad economy. One of these effects of racism is that a black person, Egypt used to be Egypt and Sudan, they used to be the same country. Sudan are almost 100% black people, but currently a black person from Upper Egypt or from Sudan who is living in Egypt would suffer a lot of racism. People would make fun of the black color. People would think that beauty means being white. It does not make any sense because the majority of Egyptians are brown people, they are not even white people. But I think media were successful of normalizing this image and normalizing such bad behavior. It was very challenging growing up in Egypt. Egypt is has very good weather. It's a very beautiful country, and yet you would suffer to be able to have your basic rights as a human there. You wouldn't be able to access good education unless you are very rich, which was not the case with my family. You would really suffer to have good health. I remember I had to live with a kidney stone for many years until I could afford having the surgery to remove it. You suffer to get a lot of your basic rights. And I lived through a revolution in Egypt. It started 2011, like 10 years ago. And the consequences of this revolution were terrible on the Egyptian people, because there was mass kill by the government and the army. There were mass arresting for many people. I personally got arrested once. It's just such a beautiful country has such a terrible lifestyle. During the revolution, I was acting as a reporter, and not an official reporter. I didn't get education in media or whatsoever, but I would take my camera, I would take pictures, I would write about what I seen, I would share it with friends I have been meeting on social media and using other tools as they were working in the media. And because of this work, I got arrested for a few days, and I got released after that because of my father was a lawyer, and he could find me kind of a deal, like if I stop doing what I'm doing, I could be released. Yeah, I was young, I was full of energy, I was thinking that I will be able to be part of a movement that will change the country. I was thinking that the people over there could find freedom or better lifestyle. I was thinking that I will have a big impact. And this experience was terrifying, but yet it taught me a lot more. It taught me about I learned about the power balance and what I can do and what I can't do, and it was kind of a shift I had. From this point, I navigated more inward than outward. I was having more passion about changing the self before trying to change whatever around you. I was dreaming very big, and now I'm dreaming even bigger, but with less foolishness. All the friends I made in Egypt, my family there, my very cute and lovely young sister, she's 6 years old, I really miss her. Everything about the people, I have been part in their life and they have been part of my life. What I like and what I dislike about my country. I really like how people in my country have empathy toward each other. People would care about each other. People would care about their neighbors. People would care about their relatives. You would find that very, very common in Egypt. You would find a lot of poverty, but also you would find people who cannot really afford much, but they still cut from their personal income to be able to help other people who cannot help themselves. You will find charity as a very rapid thing in Egypt, even though the economy is not good at all. What I don't like about my country is that poverty or lack of education, that people are suffering, that there is no human rights, there is no personal freedom. Egypt is a republic, but the president used to be the defense minister, used to be a general. and he became president by starting with a military coup. So that would give you an idea. It's democracy in paper, but this democracy is never practiced. I had many options to leave. I was searching my options to leave the country and have next step of my life. Seeing the world grow in my career or grow personally. Then I knew about MIU. I was not really interested or enthusiastic about MIU in the beginning, but doing more research, I found that is a very good place for me to have my next step. Surprisingly enough, I don't eat meat even though I'm Egyptian. It's very rare to meet an Egyptian here or anywhere that does not eat meat. So that people would think this is a negative point in MIU. Like most of my classmates that came from Egypt, they are not happy about it. But I was very excited about being in a place that has like the vegetarian people, the spiritual people, the people that are all about acceptance, the people that are about self-growing. I like the idea, and I have been here for a year and a couple of months now, and I don't regret being in MIU. I have visited other places in the United States, and still Fairfield is one of the most beautiful places I have been to. Oh, Egyptian food. Okay, you have really touched my wound here. Egyptian food is one of the most things that I really miss. Egyptian food is just wonderful, it's very tasty. They use meat with everything, but if you just cut the meat out, it's still wonderful food. I often gather my friends who are from Egypt, and we try to find the ingredients, because a lot of the ingredients of Egyptian food cannot be found in the supermarkets here, and we try to cook this food ourselves, and it's just like a moment of happiness every now and then. My favorite dish is called mahshi, and it's grapes leaf with rice inside it. The rice is prepared in a certain way. There are some spices and other stuff added to it, and then it's rolled to look like a finger, and then it's cooked. Yeah, the Islam religion, most of the Egyptians are Muslims, like around 90 or 80% or something like that are Muslims, and the Islam religion prohibits some sorts of food. The animals should be slaughtered in a certain way, so it's mostly a problem with the meat. It should not be a pig meat, and the animal should be slaughtered in a certain way, and it's kind of hard or challenging in many places in the United States for people to find such food. It's not a problem for me, because the food that might not be halal is not on the table for me anyway. I kinda go for the vegetarian options. I get my food raw and cook it myself. I love preparing the meal myself. I love having more connection with my food. So halal means this food is not a big meat. The animal was not slaughtered. It was not killed. It was slaughtered in the proper way, and the name of God was mentioned during the process. I believe the Muslims and Jews share the same point of view regarding this food. So I guess wherever you find any of them, you will find the halal food. Halal food, if you look at the bigger picture, halal is a word, means allowed, or it's not a sin for you to do it. So it's an Arabic word, and that's what it means. So for the food to be halal, that means it's not a sin for you to eat it or purchase it. And alcohol is not halal food, big meat is not halal food, and some of these kind of options. It's an Arabic word. Yeah, that's why it starts with the word al. Al is not part of the word in Arabic, it's the identifier of the word. Al means that. So alcohol means the alcohol. And when the word moved to English or other languages as well, people just thought it's one word, and it's the material, the alcohol itself. It's called alcohol in Arabic. Jinn and Jinni. Yeah, it's the correct pronunciation for it. It's Jinni. And Jinni is just like people in this area, the MENA area, Middle East and North Africa. They believe in, I believe these are superstitions before I continue, but they believe in spiritual creatures that are capable of certain stuff, and they can move between their reality or their world or their dimension to our reality or our world or our dimension. They can be summoned for certain reason if you provide them some weird stuff like slaughtered chicken, or give them a hair of someone, or whatever kind of this stuff, and then you can summon them and they can help you achieve your evil goals mostly. There are like a lot of movies about that. They are capable of taking control over human bodies, and sometimes people who have some mental disease, people over there would believe that they are occupied or possessed by jinn or these creatures, and that's a very common thing. People would read verses of the Quran on them, trying to take out the creature that's possessing their body. Some people would go extreme and even hit their body, and just knowing that, trying to tell them leave his body or whatsoever. You would find this more common 30 or 40 years ago. It's less common today because people who get educated, or people have power or more education, spend a lot of time and effort trying to convince people that that's just a superstition. Aladdin. Aladdin is Alauddin. That's how we say it in Egypt. So it's very hard for an American to say it. The letter A is very hard. I mean, many of my American friends tried to pronounce it. Some of them get close over training, but no one actually said it right since I came here. It's like but it's okay. Away from the hard letter, Alauddin is two words, and it's a name, it's a non-name, but it's two words. The second part, din, ad-din, it means the religion. That's the direct translation of it. And Alauddin is a name. It means Ala is a word from rising or being superior. So Alauddin means someone who is, as a person, causes uprising of the religion. And here the religion is meant to be the Islamic religion as well. So that's the word. That's what does the word Alauddin means. Alauddin as a story, I believe, is an Indian story, and India used to be a Muslim country and used to be one of the under the umbrella of the huge Islamic culture. Part of the day, it included the MENA area currently, and more parts of Africa, India, and Persia, which is currently Iran and the countries around it. Possibilities. Once I stepped in the United States, once I arrived to the Chicago airport with my gate to the United States, first thing was like so many possibilities to happen here. I have so many options. One of these options is to be completely open to whatever I see and I experience, to be able to get the most out of it. I will have a culture shock, most definitely. I was very sure about that. I will have difficulties. I will have some emotional setback. It would be hard for me to get around people, to make friends or whatever. And I decided to be open, and I decided to have a bad memory, which is a funny thing. What I mean was having a bad memory is that I'm gonna screw up, I'm gonna make mistakes. I have a severe condition of social anxiety, and the only way to go around that is whatever things I do that I believe stupid, I should forget right after that. I should live without this barrier that I have, because it's even harder. In my country, I know the language, I know the culture, I know what everything means, and I can just navigate through all of this. But moving to a different country, and a country with all of the society complications we have in the United States. So the United States society is very, very complicated. You can find different cultures in neighbor towns, right? So I kinda had to remind myself that there are a lot of possibilities here, and and to be able to jump on some of the good possibilities, you have to be open to them. What was my culture shock coming here to America? That's a very hard question. That was like a year ago. Yeah, those things, for example, one simple thing, when someone asks you, how are you? Most people don't really wait to hear your answer. They're just asking, how are you? As like, you have to say, I'm good, and it's it. In my country, when someone asks, how are you, he's waiting for you to actually describe how you feel and what's lately happening in your life. Many of the people I met here are lower contexts in terms of communication. Like, you have to be direct about what you want and what you mean, while in my country, you have to be less direct, I believe. These things were kind of hard for me to navigate and understand. In my country, people get offended easier than here. You have to be less direct. Being direct might make it very easy for you to offend someone or to say something inappropriate. And on the other hand, people in my country would understand what's better for you and what would make you comfortable without you having to talk about it, because people put a lot of effort in trying to understand each other. That might lead sometimes to some wrong judgments and wrong assumptions, I believe. Have a bad memory. Whatever mistakes you made in your life, they don't matter. What really matters is the future. And what matters more than the future is the current moment, because the current moment is the moment that you actually live right now, and the future is just something that's gonna come. And forget about whatever bad happened in the past. Live the current and be hopeful about the future.